Hey, welcome back to the Strength and Speed Summit. This is your host, Coach Bricks, and it is great to be back once again. And like I said, this is like unbelievable when you get to reach out to other people and people who you've heard speak, followed them on on social media and things like that, and have similar ideas of how to train people and stuff like that. But it's always good to reach out and find different ways to go. And this gentleman is no different. Thriving business, thriving, big time booming business. I've heard and one of his partners speak 2 years ago, which really got me interested. And I love the name of their company and stuff like that. Heard him speak and then followed up on these guys, been, just heard them go. And it's just great to have the opportunity to do this kind of stuff. And, Adam, I appreciate you getting on here, man, and spreading your knowledge, especially to the young strength coaches out there, people getting into this profession. So thank you so much.
Yeah, Coach, I appreciate the opportunity, and we'll continue to keep spreading it. So hopefully somebody will step on it and pick it up with them, and they can continue to pay it forward like we're trying to do. So
Exactly.
Thanks again.
I agree with you. And Adam's with Reach Your Potential, which is based out of New Jersey, a company based out of New Jersey. But Adam just doesn't stay there. He travels all over. You got to look at his repertoire of where he's been, what he's done, speaks at different places. And I'm going to let him get into this. So, Adam, instead of me going on forever, you know what I mean? They want to hear you. You're much, that's why everybody came here. Why don't you give a background, how you got started in this profession, how it all got rolling for you, and then where you've been, throughout the steps you've taken to get to where you're at now.
All right, well, we can do the quick and dirty, or we can do the slow and long one. So I'll try and maybe meet in the middle. But yeah, it's been an incredible ride, Coach. I started probably like a lot of us, man. We had some great youth coaches along the way, or some nice mentors, whether it was teammates, whether that was father, uncle, something like that, to kind of get us involved in the weight room. And originally, how I really got involved was I was always a bigger kid. I found out I was husky at my grandfather's funeral when I was 9. And, I was kind of getting compared to some of my cousins that probably were a little bit more leaner, a little bit more athletic. And I started to take up weight training when my dad, I wanted to go bow hunting with him. And at the time, he said, hey, you got to be able to bench press 65 pounds to be able to pull the string back. And looking back on, I don't know if he had any idea what he was talking about, but I remember getting my first weight set when I was 11. And, it was the classic 110-pound, standard vinyl Joe Weider set. And so I attribute that, trying to live up to the expectations and trying to spend a little bit more time with my father there, which, ended up working out great over the years. But, that led me into high school football. And, I was a three-sport athlete really my whole entire youth. And then once I hit that high school stage, I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity. Never played football before. And that's where I got in touch with, a lot of upperclassmen that took me along the way and kind of shaped the path for me. And two guys in particular, I always recognize if I get an opportunity like this. Donnell Boucher, who's the assistant athletic director at the Citadel, was one of those upperclassmen that kind of took me in, and we ended up working together at the Citadel before I moved on. And our other teammate, Matt Slaheka, who's interned with me, has gone on, worked Division I strength and conditioning, and now working with the government as a strength coach. So those two guys really, laid the groundwork for me to kind of take me in as an underclassman and, carry it over into football. So, unfortunately, not like the best, high school captain, senior year, undefeated state championship. Mine was kind of the complete opposite. I actually suffered a broken arm a week before our first game. And it was kind of really right there where I was on the sidelines. It was my senior year. Didn't really take my SATs yet. I kind of had no idea what I was going to do. And Kevin Offrey, our athletic trainer at the time, was like, man, you got to start thinking about strength and conditioning. You'd be great at it. It's like captain's practice. You train teams. You do everything. And I had no idea it was a career. I thought it was, just kind of personal training or phys ed. And, comes to show that Springfield College, the College of Coaches, was literally right down the road from us, about 10 minutes. And that's where I wanted to go. That's where I wanted to be. And I knew that would be the place to take me to where I am today. So I owe a lot to those guys at Springfield College for really coming up with the curriculum and the guidance of support of networks and mentors and classmates to kind of set us above and beyond a lot of the coaches that are in this field with the education that we got. So got there, freshman class, intro to exercise science. It was like, hey, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to be a Division I head strength coach. So I said that at 18. I accomplished that goal when I was 24. I was the youngest in the nation at the time in Eastern Michigan. But during my time at Springfield, played football there, had a great career there with a lot of great teammates and coaches. I moved on, and right there kind of set the standard of what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And I was moving fast. I wanted to get to the top and make an impact as long as possible, as often as possible. So during my years as an undergrad at Springfield, I did internships at University of Connecticut, Springfield College itself on campus, and then I did my big internship at the U.S. Olympic Training Center, all before the age of 21. I graduated a semester early and kind of got to a point of, like, do I start grad school early, or do I kind of work or do another internship? And that's where I decided to, continue to move on. I went to Arizona State for the spring of 2007. That led me to a graduate assistant position for a short year at the Citadel, where I was then promoted to a full-time coach at University of Louisville, working with their football team in 2008, 2009. 2010 rolls around, coaching changes. That's part of the deal with college athletics. I was fortunate enough to be one of 2 coaches retained on the entire football staff as well as the strength staff. And the opportunity kind of came ahead to be a head coach. And I think a lot of young coaches, when you're faced with that dilemma, it's like you're either ready or you're not. And I don't think anybody's ever ready for anything. Like we were talking about parenting earlier, right? Like You can read as many books as you want, you can go to as many clinics, but I think the great coaches go out there and they put themselves down there an opportunity to learn and make mistakes and get better. And so that's what I did. So I schlacked up a couple hours north to Eastern Michigan, took over a losing program there, a rebuilding program trying to change the culture. Had one season there, had a great year of development and growing a staff and changing the culture. And, fortunately and unfortunately, again, got the opportunity to continue my career and bring me to the NFL with, my former mentor in the field and strength conditioning, Joe Ken. And I think that's when it all everything started to slow down a little bit. I've talked about it, often, but, now you're not longer a 24, 25-year-old with a single, Caucasian male just lifting weights and coaching kids. My fiance at the time was a college strength coach. So we ended up getting married. We bought a house, moved my wife out of college coaching because we were obviously in the NFL in a different area, and got pregnant. And then it was during this time, with the season going on, really reflecting back on where I wanted to be and exactly how I wanted to go ahead and approach life with coaching and kind of build everything into, my giant plan. So, after a quick year there, we decided to, go a different route and, get back into an area where it was a little bit closer to home. And that's kind of where my story with Rip kind of took off from there. I met my partner, Bobby Smith, and his wife, Sharon Wentworth, through some mutual friends online, and, showed me his vision of building a performance center for youth athletes. And essentially a lot of the groundwork was kind of already laid down, and, he was looking for a partner and a director with experience in leading programs and starting something from nothing and building into something great. And while I couldn't really attest to that because I kept, bopping around and moving up in the promoting of the world, I said, let's do it. So, obviously a big risk going into a realm of the private sector, which was completely different than college athletics and professional athletics, but a great opportunity nonetheless. And, I'm happy to say, we've had almost 4,000 athletes walk through our doors, and we're just finishing up year 5. So it's been great to take the 7 athletes that we started with, paying $20 an hour, with no programming, no billing, just figuring it out, growing to, a staff of 7 to 8 coaches all year round, and really taking things to the next level and really helping these athletes reach their potential both on and off the field.
I've followed you guys and I've watched your videos and unbelievable work you guys are doing out there in New Jersey, which is awesome, and I can commend you for it because, like I said, impacting young lives is, I think, one of the very, very keys to our country's success and the success of the youth, and you guys do a great job, and I give you credit for that. Let's get into some of the program design. You've been to a couple different places. You said the Citadel, you've been in Eastern Michigan, Louisville, Carolina. What goes into something that you design? Like you're the top guy there. You come up with the programs. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question when you look at things in terms of programming from an overall structure, because I think every situation is a little bit different, right? So, let's say you're looking at the professional athletic realm. You want to talk about results driven, like all that matters is how they perform in their game when they're getting paid millions and millions of dollars. So you've got to be able to go ahead and take, these types of movements and get out of it what you're looking for, but also taking care of the athlete first and foremost, because, hey, there might be an opportunity in your career where you're no longer heavy back squatting. And so you can't be, have this knucklehead mentality where you're like, well, I don't know what else to do to train my lower body because, well, what do you mean we're not going to do machines, or, I'm not going to use goblet squats or whatever. So that was a big experience I learned, being at that level, was taking this athlete-centered approach of making the most of what we had. And then on the other side of that, you're working with college athletes where, it's part of the contract. You sign up as a student athlete. This is part of your long-term development. And if you're getting a kid at, 18, 19 years old and it's a redshirt freshman, understanding the process of really slow cooking it. And I think what we did a really nice job at the beginning with RIP is how do we combine and melt these two kind of philosophies, where it's like, how can we get the results that we're looking for, but mostly our clients, which are now kids and their parents, but then blend it into a fashion of long-term athletic development. And so, keeping things pretty simple, like obviously we want to do what's best for the athlete, but, working in the private sector, how can you streamline that into a sense where, you might have soccer athletes, you might have football athletes, you might have baseball athletes, you may have in-season athletes, off-season athletes, and they might be in the same group. And, in our goals is we try to kind of group our kids roughly by, age, sport, sex as much as possible. But, what are the foundational movements that we need to go ahead and teach and coach with great passion and purpose to make sure that when they do get to that college level, or hopefully they make it to a professional ranking, they've got such a great foundation that their peak performance is really taking off. So, again, keeping things simple, like obviously we want to stay balanced. Our biggest things we talk about is like watch the sport, see what happens. So, everything's going to be ground-based. It's going to be multi-joint. It's going to be three-dimensional. And we want to make sure that we have these athletes in here and they embrace the process and they have fun with it. So, are we going to build in some test weeks and some open weeks and really, push the pedal down? Yeah, sure. Especially, with some athletes that have a little bit of a higher training age. But, from a general programming standpoint is I've seen it too much being a college coach and seeing our high school incoming freshmen come in and they're training with like these gurus that all they do is speed work, but it's not really speed work. And I'll probably, we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. Or, I train with this type of coach and I can bench the house, but as my partner Bobby says, like, it doesn't matter how much you bench if you're sitting on one because you're injured. You don't know how to move. So, we've kind of blended all these philosophies and methodologies and kind of principles we've learned along the way. I come from a football strength coaching background. My wife was a college strength coach and she was a Division I soccer player, and my partner was, an Olympic trials champion in the javelin. So, you're tying together a lot of great athletic and coaching experiences. We've continually tailored and tweaked it along the way to serve, the general masses of our population, which is, high school athletes, and really set them up for success later down the road.
Yeah, it's great. And take me through like a program design, like a typical day. I'm coming in, I'm signing up as a middle school athlete. I know you have middle school programs and high school programs or elite level. I've seen the whole website, which is awesome. But say I'm coming in as a middle school, I'm getting ready. I know your fall programs probably just about started right around now as summer's over. How would you get them all started? I'm coming in with a group of maybe 10, 15 kids. What do we do first?
Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys are all in the kind of the same team, so we'll do some sort of like a team program. We'd obviously give you a nice discount for that, but everything comes into an assessment process. At this level, like I've done some work with the functional movement screen. We're reevaluating some of our screening procedures with like the dynamic warm-up assessment. But, we try not to get caught up too much in the intricacies of, is he a 3, is he a 2, is he a 1, can he not do this so he can't lift? Because I think at this level, especially we're seeing with today's youth is, like it's apparent, right? We're sitting more, we're doing less. Kids and parents are paying astronomical amounts of money to play on a showcase team and they're not even playing. So the whole activity level and, what we call as work capacity or GPP is kind of out the window. So, we take a very, very basic assessment procedure where we want to go ahead and evaluate their stability, their mobility, their range of motion, how they position themselves in certain the drills, and we take a very easy, we'll do our performance test, we'll give the parents a 10-yard sprint, we'll do a 60-yard shuttle, we'll test their vertical and long jump. But, at this age, we're looking, not necessarily how high and how fast are they running, but how well are they landing, how well are they controlling their body in space. So after we get a couple of those variables, then we do a very simple body weight assessment. We'll kind of evaluate some movement patterns like a squat pattern, a hinge pattern, a single leg squat pattern, as well as a little bit of core stability and upper body strength. And then we kind of wrap all that up in about 40, 45 minutes and then really explain the expectations and demands of the program. And, you talk about middle school, like really getting them, our focus at this level is mastering their body weight. Again, you get these, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds with parents that are just saying, they're the next greatest, insert professional athlete here. Well, that's fine according to their sport coach, but we've said it time and time again, just because they're great at their sport does not mean they're great at training. So we go and we take this, general approach and saying, okay, what are the, 5, 6, 7 areas that our age group are going to work on? So, we talk about squat patterning, like kids are falling in and out of a squat, their heels are coming up, their knees are coming in, and, we kind of make a joke that, they're probably sitting at home on a nice high-rise toilet because they've never had squats so low. But, getting them to a position like that, holding a plank movement, so we can go ahead and progress that. So, in our middle school program, it's a 2-day-a-week focus, really mastering body weight, teaching them and mastering that athletic position, because if I can teach and get them to master that athletic position without any weight, then I can go ahead and load up those RDLs, and I can go ahead and start doing some introductory Olympic lifting before they go into the high school program. But before that, like, can we get them exerting enough power with medicine ball throwing and jump landing and make sure that they're avoiding injury there? So, in our middle school program, it runs about 75 minutes, and well over half of that is really focused on movement quality. So, our weight room block is only about 20 to 25 minutes, and we're keeping things so simple and progressing as needed, because we want them to kind of get this exposure to a variety of different movement patterns and exercises, but we also want to make sure that we're not just jumping in and changing it just to change it. And that can, that's a struggle a lot of private sector coaches have. They're just like, we'll just do a different workout this week because, we got to keep the kids engaged. And a lot of coaches have said time and time again, like, this whole muscle confusion thing, it isn't true. You have to give the body enough time to adapt. And, so we rotate our programs on a 4 to 6 week cycle, and we progress accordingly. And, but the biggest thing that comes out of this what we call our junior RIT program, is the ability to move well, move often, and master that body weight appropriately.
That's great. I love the stuff that you're doing. You're right on. Like, I totally agree. That muscle confusion stuff that everybody talks about, it blows my mind how often people change it. I'm like, come on, man, you got to have at least some kind of base build up, and like, right. You guys have it. 4 to 6 weeks is what I usually do with a lot of my athletes, and then boom, we move on. So that's great to hear. Now, getting into that part of it, with the warm up, the movement patterns, and all that kind of stuff. I love speed stuff. I love teaching speed. I love doing it all, but I just love athletes that can just move. And I'm not just talking about straight ahead speed. It's great to see the same Bolt out there, on a track someday. But I love that change of direction stuff. Where do you guys incorporate that? Because I know you guys go over it. I've heard, your partner Bobby speak on it and stuff like that, and you guys really nailed it. I love the stuff that you guys are talking about. But where do you put that in your program? And how early do you teach that? Do you teach that right away to your youngest, or you wait till later on when, your high school kids come into play?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's involved in all of our programs. So our fundamental, ripped program, the first half of it is always going to be movement. And so what we do is we use like an outcome-based approach. Is, where do we want to get to? So let's say we're looking at a long-term deal. I would love to be training our kids in college when they come home for summer break, when they come home for winter break. To me, that's like the epitome of our high school program is, we signed it during high school, during middle school, and you stay with us. So where do I want to get them there, and how do I regress backwards? So let's say it was a college program or a high school program, and let's use the high school program for example. It's a 90-minute session. It's 2 or 3 times per week. The first 45 minutes is solely devoted towards movement. So, we've got the system down now with a joint-by-joint approach to, warm up. It's 15 minutes. It's 15 exercises. It's all in place. You can do it, within 5 yards or 10 yards, depending on how much space you need. And then after that, we have about a 21 to 22-minute period where we're teaching these mechanics, these integrations, and these applications of drills to go ahead and carry that over throughout the progression. So let's say if it's a day 1 of the program, we take a pretty unique approach. We alternate days between what coach would say a max velocity or top speed day and an acceleration day, because what we have found working with youth athletes is, everybody wants to go ahead and focus on acceleration, right? The buzzwords are going to be first step quickness, they're going to be fast out the gate, they're going to stay nice and low. But when you evaluate posture and positioning, it's very hard to hold that crouch position and demonstrate extreme amounts of power if they can't even go ahead and hold that max V up tall position. And that's something where, we've had some track emphasis, over the years in learning is, if you can't hold this standing plank position when you're running at top speed, how can you hold that down nice and low and really exert all that power that we're looking for? So for us, our programs rely around the high school sports season. So most of our programs are 12 weeks in length. So if you're not playing basketball, you're doing winter ripped. If you're not playing lacrosse, you're doing spring ripped, etc. And what we do is we kind of alternate those day 1s. So we'll spend about 21 to 22 minutes. Let's say it's odd number of weeks we're working on max velocity. So we're working about, forcing that knee up with the toe, keeping that nice tall torso, squeezing the glutes, make sure that the back isn't excessively rounded. We're going to be working on some marching and skipping. And then we're going to go ahead and start to introduce, that max speed model. But again, here's why I think it's so important with youth athletes is go ahead and watch an 8-year-old, go ahead and watch a 13 or 14-year-old run. They're going to reach their top speed sooner, all right? And we have to make sure that we're training that. So if we're just working acceleration, we're just working 5-yard sprints and 10-yard sprints and 15, that's great, but they're going to hit acceleration out of the gate quick, and then it's gone. So they're going to reach that top speed sooner, and they're going to have to hold it longer. So it's important for us to work things like tempos and build-ups and some flying runs to make sure that when they're running, they're good to go. And I get the argument that, like, hey, when is an athlete ever going to be in max speed before they have to change direction? 100% I agree. But we found that working the other side of the coin is definitely going to help the coin that we see most, which is that acceleration. So let's say it's odd number weeks are max velocity mechanics. The other weeks, let's say even number weeks, are going to be acceleration. So again, we're working arm action, we're working leg action. We do a lot of sled towing, a lot of sled pushing to keep that 45 to 60 degree acceleration angle. Teaching kids how to push to the ground, cover ground, be explosive with those first couple steps. And then we have some fun with the sprinting variations. And then all of this takes place in about the first 37 to 38 minutes. And then we finish every movement section of the workout with some sort of upper body and lower body plyos, which, we've done some research on that. We put together a product, the Coach's Guide to Jump Training. Again, maximizing jump performance in any plane of motion while reducing the risk of injury. So, 45 minutes into the high school session, that's when you actually head into the weight room, and then we work on, your Olympic lifts, your mobility, your primary strength, and your auxiliaries to make sure that we're staying balanced. So the first 45 minutes is all movement. Day one of our program is always linear focus. Day two is lateral focus. So we're teaching these mechanics like pushing off the outside leg, keeping an athletic base and a low center of gravity. So we'll do a lot of shuffle variations, breaking that down even further to a lot of work that like Mike Boyle and his staff have done with like 1-2-6. Again, like not just doing cone drills just to do them, but to force like sharp angles, pushing off at the right speeds and the vectors to make sure, because I'm sure you've seen it watching sport practices. It's like, all right, we're going to line up 50 kids and you're going to do this sprint, shuffle, backpedal, turn and run, and there's no focus on technique. The athletic position is out of whack. They're standing up. They're not using what they're supposed to be using, and then we're just kind of wasting time and getting them tired. So, we'll do a lot of variations with that, and, we'll kind of throw in some spice there, and obviously add in some reactive agility and make sure we have fun with that. And then the last day of the program is more of our angled or crossover diagonal work, where we're kind of forcing them into that crossover running fashion, because when you're looking on the field, the kids aren't going to be shuffling for, more than probably 2 to 3 steps. So, shuffling 10-yard segments probably isn't going to apply to your field, but if you're watching a defender, retreat, they're not going to backpedal either. So, but they will crossover run. And so if we can get them in a position to, cover ground in the plane that they're defending while keeping their eyes on the target in intact position, they're going to be in great shape to make that transition when it happens on the field.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, breaking it down like that. Staying with speed here. Where do you guys put, this is one of the things that I usually see, and I see it all the time, and I think it's gotten worse over the last 15 years, and that's just plain running mechanics, the arm mechanics, the foot, like you guys talked about the foot. Where do you guys put that in your program? Do you guys do that early on, like with the young kids all the time? Do you still do it with your older kids and even your elite level guys? You guys constantly go over that? Or is that, hey, we do it here in the beginning and then that's it?
Yeah, we keep it. So in our high school program, we keep it all year round, and then we just kind of vary with the types of positions that we're doing. So, we have a standard couple of exercises, whether that's certain wall drills that we're doing. If it's marching and skipping, if it's arm action, we've actually started to progress. Looking at a lot of the things that like Lee Taft has been doing. Getting away from like the half kneeling and seated arm action and getting him into that kind of 2-point sprint position. Because when you're looking at this arm action, it's not necessarily like 90-90. And it's going to open up a little bit bigger. And when you watch like elite sprinters, again, watching elite sprinters and then comparing it to a 12-year-old is completely different. But what can we learn from these great athletes is, this arm swing is much larger and it's more forceful. So we've started to play around with that and kind of add that into our program. But as we get closer to more of like the phase 3 program, we do start to tailor out the arm action kind of basic introductory drills, because, we're hoping after a good 10 to 11 weeks of solid, sprint training mechanics, we want to go ahead and add more of what's going to make you better at that age and that stage is going to be more sprinting. So this is where we'll get into more partner chase work, more reactive sprinting, and even doing some contract work, some complexes where I might do a jump and throw with a partner chase sprint, something like that. In terms of, the younger athletes, let's say middle school or even grammar school now, we're going to actually spend more time on that stuff and a little bit less time on the traditional speed. We're going to do repeat 20-yard sprints, give you enough rest in between, because again, they're going to fatigue quicker, and we're just going to go ahead and load improper movement patterns, and we just keep sprinting them. So as they get older, we do less of the mechanics and integration in terms of like the little things like leg and arm action towards the end of the phase, but we're always going to revisit that every phase, because what we've learned in our facility is our average client is a 15-year-old field hockey player, so she's female, and she's only going to train with us 1 to 2 seasons a year. So it's not like you're getting a college athlete and you've got full autonomy over them for all 4 years of their college career. So you get them in the fall, great, and then maybe they play a winter sport, okay, and then maybe they play a spring sport, and then you get them back in the summer. So for you to say, oh, they don't need arm action and leg action and athletic positioning drills when the last time you saw them was about 7 months ago, I mean, that's kind of selfish to say that, yeah, we actually do need to continue to regroup this and get back on track with this.
Excellent, excellent. You talked a little bit about the explosion part. How often, and you talked about, towards the end of your workouts, your speed development program, the movement part, you do some of your plyos and stuff. Is that the only time you do plyo work, is towards the end? And what kind of plyo stuff do you do besides, normal box jumps or something like that?
Sure, yeah. So our plyo block actually comes in right at the end of the movement section as a kind of bridge right before we hit the lifting. So we kind of want to use that as a way to kind of prep this, central nervous system for the kids. Now that they've had a good 35 solid, really active warm up with the speed work. So now that we're ready to go, mentally and physically focused, and we use that as a bridge to again go into our Olympic lifting. So we're always going to do our jump training right after the movement section. We may, depending on the group, because again, you got to have a good feel for your kids. We're watching a 6 a.m. group, and the warm up's kind of a little dogging a little bit. We might do our plyo block right after that to kind of set them up for speed. And then with that, depending on the program split that we have, most of our kids will do a 2-day-a-week program. So we kind of look at the biggest bang for our buck planes of motion. And that's how I look at programming. I don't program for exercises. I don't program squats. I don't program benches. I program, double leg pushes. I program hinge patterns. I program vertical presses and vertical pulls, etc. And it's the same thing with plyometrics, and that's what we talk about in our manual, the Coach's Guide to Jump Training, is box jumps or long jumps or vertical jumps. Like, why are we doing that? What's the greater focus here? And are we looking at things? And are we adding enough variation so that they're continuing to get better, so they're higher numbers or they're slower numbers in terms of speed, but it's carrying over to great landing mechanics, decrease risk of injury, and then transferring over to that, triple extension that we're all looking for. So in our 2-day-a-week program, we'll probably do some sort of a linear or vertical variation. So it could be a long jump, it could be a vertical jump, it could be a box jump. But we're going to go ahead and progress that every 2 to 3 weeks accordingly, and we're going to make sure that we match the intensity of exercise with the volume. So we'll go through that, and we're always going to pair that with some sort of med ball work. So again, planes of motion. How many different planes of motion does your body work with? So in med balls, we're working rotational plane, we're working linear plane, we're working lateral plane, we're working the overhead plane. Again, this whole holistic integration of athlete development. It's not just run straight, and if you're track, it's like run straight and lean left. You've got to do a lot more when you're working with these types of field sport athletes. So day one, for instance, might be rotational plane on medicine ball work. So I'll maybe do some sort of side toss variation, and again, we'll progress that accordingly. And it might be a combination of what we call a hybrid, so like a hurdle jump, repeat hurdle jump for 2 of those, pause, and then into a vertical jump. Because if we're only seeing them for 2 days a week, we want to make sure that we can kind of blend these planes of motion and take care of business. And let's say if it's the second day of the program, that might be a linear type of med ball work, so some sort of med ball punch variation, because we would be benching on that day, as well as some sort of a lateral or rotational plyo. So this could be a lateral hurdle jump, this could be a lot of lateral bounding, because we do enjoy that. And then we'll put that together and work that together seamlessly throughout the whole entire program, the phase. Now, my college athletes, those ones that were kind of peaking through this 10, 11-week program in the summer, we'll start to phase out the jump training and the med ball work before the lifting, probably at about 8 to 10 weeks in, and then we'll start introducing some complex work where we'll go ahead and we'll start pairing, speed cleans with some sort of a jump, or, heavier squats with some sort of, jump as well. So it's really knowing your athlete, knowing where you are in the year to make sure, because, you can't complex train all year round, and you can't just do box jumps all year round. You have to make sure that you have a plan and adjust that accordingly with the athletes that you're working with.
That's excellent. Excellent stuff that you got going on. That's awesome. Nutrition. I know you deal with that. I know you're certified in precision nutrition there. How important, how often do you talk to your athletes about this? I really feel over the last probably 3, 4, 5 years, and it should have been done a long time ago, but it's really taken center stage, I think. Besides, everybody talking about speed, but nutrition has definitely become one of those things that everybody's talking about. Hey, we got to, do this with nutrition. How often do you talk to your athletes, and do you guys give them a guide? Do you guys do something with them to make sure they understand what they should be doing and how they should be doing it?
Yeah, this is kind of how I made my mark in terms of making myself more accessible to employers, because, it's very easy to program the X's and O's, right, with coaching. It's 5 sets of 5 here, it's 3 sets of 10 there. What else can you bring to the toolbox? So, I went through my own transformation, formerly weighing, almost 300 pounds when I played offensive line, to, hovering anywhere between, 215 and 230 most of my coaching career, is, how can we go ahead and educate the masses and get them to understand that, the simplest things are going to yield results if you do it over time. And, something I learned, working with precision nutrition is like, we just want to go ahead and give out these meal plans. But guess what? Like, you get this meal plan and, this A-plus effort that you're going to give on a Monday, because everybody starts again on Monday, means nothing if you don't carry it over throughout the rest of the week. So we say, like, a B-minus effort, like a good job done every day is much better than, like, this A-plus job done once a week. And working with kids, and I've seen it at every level, like we just put an article up on Precision Nutrition talking about the lessons that we've learned working with elite athletes, is it doesn't matter if you have lots of money or no money, or if you have control over your food shopping, or you do or you don't, whatever it is. Like, the simple things always yield the best results. And, that's kind of like this Occam's razor approach with programming is, the simplest explanation is usually the best one. So I'm not going to load my clients and my kids with, all right, you need about 200 grams of protein, you need about 300 grams of carbs, your post-workout shake needs about 100 grams of waxy maize, and then you want to make sure that you have this, supremely filtered whey isolate from the waters of Zenith, protein shake, is, educating them. So we kind of take a multiple-fold approach. Number one is we're starting to redesign these handouts that we always have available for the kids, and then we're mentioning things as we go. We have a News of the Week board that we always put up information, and then every other week we're bringing a nutrition tip right to the forefront. So, hey, here's the quote of the week, here's our goals and expectations for today's training sessions, here's this tip that I want you guys to focus on and move forward accordingly with this. So it could be, why protein is important, how to measure protein to keep it realistic. So we use the guidelines for precision nutrition, a palm-sized portion for a female or 2 palm-sized portions for a male. This is what we're shooting for. Try to get these in with most of your meals. These are the types of sources, etc. So we're always going to do some sort of tip of the week there. We also do out a monthly nutrition newsletter. So we're going to go ahead and put, how do you make this, super shake where it's more than just 2 scoops of protein and shake it up in your shaker bottle. So how can we go ahead and help them develop, the skills, the cooking skills of making a protein shake that's, much better, that has fruits and vegetables and healthy fats in there, and the healthy carbs that they need to execute. So we're going to put that on the newsletter. We're going to do a quick tip, some sort of recipe, staying in tune with, like, the eat this, not that. So, we'll highlight some of the local fast food places, because, again, like we always go back to, like, meeting your clients where they're at, is you have to understand they're going to eat fast food. They're going to have sleepovers. They're going to have tournaments on the weekend, and they're going to have to stop at a road stop. So you telling them to, like, not eat McDonald's or avoid Subway and get this and always get double meat, well, double meat gets expensive. So, if you're in high school and you're trying to take care of this, again, how can you develop these strategies and communicate with them to get your message across? So we've got the monthly newsletter that goes out to the parents as well. We also keep 2 recovery boards. So we have a recovery board and a nutrition board where we do a topic of the month. And again, we put that right in the recovery section. So while they're training, they get started their foam rolling and stretching beforehand, or they get done in their foam rolling and stretching, they've got something to look at there. And then lastly, we have these handouts available, but then we also have the opportunities to go ahead and if they want to meet with myself or my wife, who, we are certified nutrition coaches through Precision Nutrition, we can go ahead and schedule things accordingly. But, the majority of our time is spent coaching, and that is on the floor. So we want to create as many resources as possible so that they can take on social media, that they can take as a handout, and really let the parents know that we're trying to this complete coaching model. It's not just about, lifting weights and running sprints, because, we know you don't get better by lifting weights, you get better by recovering through that. And that's the other, 165 hours out of the week that I'm not seeing them. So keeping the education up to date, and then engaging that in between sets, between warm-ups, if they're coming in and they're eating some sort of nutrient, energy bar right after school, talking to them about that. And really, like, when the session's over and we're on a break and we're going to transition in between groups, eating our meals inside the office, and they come in and say goodbye. It's like, hey, what do you got there? And then educating there. Maybe it's quinoa, maybe it's, oh yeah, chicken breast. I don't know how to cook that. I mean, I worked with a college athlete. I taught him how to cook eggs and put spinach in a shake, and he lost over 30 pounds. And just little tips like that, kids are unaware of and how easy it is.
Yeah, man, that's great stuff. What could you recommend to every strength coach that they should do to help move this profession in the right direction? Because I really think, being in it for 15 years, you've been in it for a long time as well, I think it's almost saturated, somewhat watered down to some respect. Everybody says they're a strength coach. Everybody says I train athletes and stuff like that, and I hear it all the time from everybody who really probably don't have the knowledge of how the body works and stuff. What do you recommend to young guys that are in the profession, like, trying to make something, what would you recommend the number one thing that they should probably do to make that impact?
I think it really comes down to, especially if you're breaking into this field, is you got to find a great mentor, and you've got to go ahead and put yourself in an opportunity where it is a little uncomfortable and it's going to challenge you in terms of, adversity, and you're going to have to display some grit. But, a lot of coaches these days I see with my interns is, there's a lot of opportunities that are out there for them. And they're like, well, it's a little too far from home, or I'm not sure how I'm going to make it work. And I'm like, right away, if it's important to you, you'll find a way to make it work. I remember going out to Arizona State for an unpaid internship. I found a room on Craigslist. I drove out there by myself. I racked up a little bit of credit card debt, but I was smart. I paid it off, relatively shortly. But I was like, I'll figure this out. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. I'm not going to say this is too far. I don't have a place to live. I'll figure that out. And it worked out because, the mentors I made and the connections I made along the way and met with really set the tone of what I wanted to do. And it explored and it exposed me to training styles that I wasn't familiar with. And that would be my other, tip would be, don't always do what you've always done, because you always get what you've always gotten. And a lot of coaches will get in this field and they'll do exactly what they did in college, or they'll kind of hook up with a guy that they know that they feel comfortable with. And it's like, that's not how you grow. And, by being not necessarily the smartest one in the room is forcing you to grow, because you want to keep up with the conversation. You want to know what's going on, and you want to be prepared to communicate accordingly. So, my top two tips was obviously find a great mentor. Don't go there for the logo. Don't go there because you're a fan of the team. Don't go there because of the location. Go there because you're going to find somebody that's really going to take the time to teach you and mold you into a great coach, and that they focus on more than just writing programs and adding exercise videos to your library, etc. And then number two, don't be afraid to go off the beaten path, man. I mean, our internship program at Springfield, it's located in Western Massachusetts, and people wanted to take the easy way. They did an internship site right away, right next to school, because it was easy and convenient. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I'm going to go to a place that maybe nobody's ever been before, and hopefully I can blaze the path for somebody else, which it ended up working out for a lot of coaches after me. And, that's what coaches have to do. They have to go out there willing to take risks, and they have to get rid of that negative mindset where it's like if they allow any opportunity for them to fail mentally, or, on the internship or starting a program. I mean, hey, dude, we started ripped with 7 athletes in an empty warehouse. And it was like, what are we going to do? And I moved out my pregnant wife and left a career in the NFL to start something from scratch. And it was literally I call it no other way, is there is no other way. You can't fail. You can't let this, not work out. I'm not going to go move in with my parents. I'm not going to go ahead and not support my family. We'll figure this out. And when you put yourself in positions like that and you believe in that, you're going to take care of business wherever you're at, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, it's a great mindset. Awesome mindset. What area of training do you really enjoy most? You might enjoy all of them and stuff like that. Like I said earlier, I love speed. I love working on speed, all that kind of stuff. What area do you really enjoy?
That's a good question. As I've gotten older, I've kind of shifted away really from the lifting aspects. I love programming. Obviously I'm the director and I write all the programming, but the programming, the sets and the reps and exercises doesn't really give me that juice as it used to when I was trying to do advanced Prilepin schemes and relative intensity and what percentage, drop set should I do here. So I'd have to agree with you with the movement aspect of it, because that's something I credit my partner Bobby with, showing me, because I was always a football strength coach. And, I'm going to be honest, we would have the greatest and best charts for lifting, right? We'd have periodization schemes, we'd have annual plans, we'd have all this stuff. And then we'd look at our running scripts and it's like, all right, we'll do a couple A skips, we'll do some sprints, and we'll do some sled pulls. And that was it. And really tagging up with him and being around great coaches, spent some time with, guys like Dan Path and things like this, really opened up my eyes to how well the body can move. And so I'm always looking at that is how can I go ahead and synchronously take in the physical weight training and the power development and combine that with the movement to really create this whole athlete. So I'd say I kind of lean a little bit more towards the movement these days, which has been a big shift for me. But my big picture is I want to look at how can I combine these effortlessly to make sure that we're developing this complete athlete. Because I don't want a super strong athlete that can't move, and I don't want a great bender and mover that can't lift. So my job as a director, and as I see things in navigating the ship, is where are the areas that we can go ahead and steal from and modify and absorb it and make it our own. From coaches like Lee Taft, and let's say it's Olympic lifting and it's guys like Will Fleming, even talking with guys like Coach Cav, is where does this fit in the greater piece of it. I think I like seeing the puzzle and figuring out what pieces need to go in there to get the results that we're looking for.
Awesome. All right, one of my last questions here. I don't like to say injury prevention. I just don't like that word prevention. I think it's overblown and stuff. Everybody always talks about it. It's the throw out word. I like to call more, let's say, injury mitigation. I'm trying to mitigate those injuries from really, happening. I don't think you can really prevent anything. You just never know what happens out there. What do you guys, have you seen an increase in injuries, and what do you attribute it to? You personally, with working with the athletes that you do, you've worked on all those levels, the college level, the pro level, and now in the private sector with all different age groups. What do you contribute some of the injuries to that are going on in sports that you hear about, the ACLs, the ankles, the knees, the shoulders, all that stuff?
Yeah, no, you make a great point, and I agree with you with the whole injury prevention aspect. So, we haven't used the term mitigation. We call it, we'll use reduction. But same principle, like we'll do everything we can to help reduce this because we know through the research that a stronger athlete has better control of their body. And ask yourself this, like when do injuries occur? Injuries almost always occur when something or someone is out of the proper position, right? You sprained an ankle, you rolled it, right? You broke an arm, well, your humerus went one way and your body went the other. So how can we get our athletes to control their bodies appropriately to possibly reduce that future risk? Because we know, let's say it's a collision sport, like you can do everything you can with football, but guess what? Like it is a collision sport. Things will happen. So I definitely agree with you on that. And then in terms of injury, absolutely. I think there's two ways of looking at it. Number one, I think the diagnostic tools have gotten much, much better. And I think a lot of coaches don't take this in consideration. You see these more veteran coaches who say, like, we never had these issues or we never, ran into these problems. Well, you don't really know because we didn't have that ability to scan muscles and bodies and bone densities and just all these little things that keep coming up. So, hell, we just found like another, ligament in the knee. Like, where the heck has this been, the past like 100 plus years that we've been looking at this, right? So I do want to give credit to like the medical field for that, for doing a much better job because, for something that we thought was a shin splint, now there's stress reactions and now there's stress fractures. So, we are seeing a little bit better in terms of diagnostics, but really, I mean, when you're looking at youth sports, it's definitely coming down to overuse, and there's a lot of great coaches talking about it these days, and Rick Howard with the NSCA, I know, is pushing for such involvement of making sure we're taking this long-term athlete development approach. But I see it now. I got 9-year-olds and 11-year-olds that they're doing club soccer all year round. We train New Jersey's best male AAU team, Team Rio in our facility, and these guys are playing basketball all year round. And the overuse and the continuous repetitive motions of doing the same thing. Taking basketball for instance, so you're always wearing high top shoes. Maybe you're always taping your ankles. You're always bracing certain aspects of your body. So now joints that are supposed to be mobile are now forced to be stable, and then stable joints are now being mobile because it's going up to a joint below or a joint above, whatever the case is. It's too much over specialization, and it's unfortunately kind of driven by the promises of coaches, and whether that's a club coach or a college coach, that's like, hey, if you really want to play at the next level, you have to devote more time. And you can take the 10,000 hour rule and apply it however you wish. Recent research has shown it doesn't exactly work like that. It's got to be mindful instruction, but there's got to be a balance. And so, my kids are 4 and 2 right now, and my son's he's going to be starting soccer in the fall. We're trying a gymnastics class today. Exposing our athletes to as many stimulus as possible in a wide variety of environments and loads and speeds, that's going to set us up for greater long-term success. So, if we could just slow down on the whole specialization thing and not worry about that until we absolutely need to, I think we'll see a major, major decrease in a lot of the soft tissue injuries that we're seeing over and over and over again these years.
Yeah, I agree with that. The specialization's out of control, especially, being in the Pennsylvania area, big for baseball, even though, even as a cold weather sport, a lot of kids play all year round, and soccer all year round, and now basketball is all year round, and now we're starting to get into football all year round. It's getting to a point where it's like nobody plays 3 sports or even 2 sports anymore, and they never take time off. It's constant. I agree with you. If something doesn't change here, you're going to start seeing either kids develop horrible injuries and not going to be able to walk by the time they're 30, or you're going to see just kids just quit because they're going to get burnt out way too early.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at the statistics. Like, we've got a college recruiter inside our facility, and I mean, the stats of first-year athletes transferring or quitting their sport is astronomical. I mean, imagine, like, going through the whole recruiting process, and then you get there, and you're just like, this isn't what I want. And then, like, as a parent, you're thinking, like, what did I do wrong? What did we do? Like, how do you not love this? Like, this is what we've been doing our whole life. Well, maybe that's why. Maybe it's because I've been doing, like, I didn't pick up a football, competitively until high school. That probably helped, didn't help me in terms of, like, the technique, but, I enjoyed it. I loved it, all 8 years that I played of it, and I'm glad that I moved on, and, but I'm facing the battles of, playing 8 years competitive, and, I'm in my 30s now, it's hurting, so, what's going to happen, like you said, to these people that are playing since the age of 3 years old over and over and over again. So, it's really about education, but, like, it comes down to, like, it's got to be targeted towards the parents, and whether it's an organization, whether it's coaches, whether it's your message to the parents, we try to do that. We educate the parents. They have a problem. We're always going to present them with a solution, but we want to make sure they understand our point of view, because they're going to get it from their sources, from their club coaches, from their buddies in the stands, and whatever they read in the newspapers and online. So if we can fight those from multiple angles, hopefully our future and my kids' future will be much more promising.
Yeah, I agree. Coach, I really, truly appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you guys are busy out there constantly working with those kids, getting them better, making an impact in their lives, not just not just the physical part of it, but it sounds like right in the mental part, all that, which is huge. How can somebody get in touch with you? What are you guys doing now? Your facility and stuff. What do you have coming out? But also, how can people reach out to you who want to get in touch with you? Maybe come stop by and see the facility and do those kind of things.
Yeah, we are open doors, Coach. We've got any coach that wants to come in the area, out of the area. We've got nothing to hide. The more info that we can provide and hopefully learn from the coaches coming in would be great. We've got coaches in, almost every week from all over the place. So, we're located in Monmouth County, New Jersey, exit 105 off the Garden State Parkway. We're about, a little over an hour from south of New York City. We're kind of smack in the middle between Philadelphia and New York City. But big events coming up. Actually, we just finished shooting our second product, the complete guide to training the female athlete. So we're actually in the final tune-ups for that. So hopefully we'll see some of really our program at Ripped, everything from warm-up through all of our speed progressions to exactly how we train all of our athletes, and about over 80% of them are female. So hopefully that'll be released relatively shortly. We've got the Speed and Power Summit coming up end of September with hosts of coaches, Will Fleming, Dave Gleason, Lee Taft, Robert Dos Remedios, Bobby Smith, a lot of great guys coming out to our area. So that's at the end of September. You can find info on that at speedandpowersummit.com. And then in terms of social media, we are all over it. So whether it's Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, it's at IGotRipped. So it's IGOTRYPT. And then our website is IGotRipped.com. We're on Facebook, and we try and keep a pretty active presence on all social media channels. And just shoot us a message. We'll get back to you.
And I agree. I mean, I shot you something, and I think the same day, boom, you were back. Hey, man, let's hook up. Let's talk, and right away. And I think that's what the great ones do. I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of great guys. Cal Dietz out of Minnesota. Coach Cav, unbelievable guys that are doing great work and really out there for the right reasons to help these athletes understand and really spread a positive message. And if they're good, they'll make the time. You know what I mean? Everybody says, well, I'm busy. I 100% agree. You only have 24 hours in the day. You have 2 young kids. Mine are just about the same age. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So I know it's crazy. We're talking about it right before we got on. But if you really want to help somebody out and you really want to, gain that knowledge, for all you young strength coaches out there, the good ones will get back to you almost instantly or as quick as they possibly can and will help you out with whatever. So that's my advice on this end. The good guys like Coach Adam here and his staff, boom, right like that, got back to you. So networking is key, guys. I can't stress that enough. For you young strength coaches, if you go to these things, which I highly recommend, at Speed and Power Summit, a lot of those guys that they have coming in, those coaches that are coming in, are unreal. I've been following them for years now, and the stuff that they bring out, the knowledge, I've gained so much from those guys specifically. So I highly recommend it. Highly recommend just getting out and hearing these guys talk, but I also highly recommend going to these facilities. I mean, Coach Adam here has an open door policy. You guys come in, send him a message, come on in, you see it, and that's what it's all about here. So, Coach Adam, I appreciate it, man. It was awesome, and I can't thank you enough for what you just brought to the table. I've taken like 4 or 5, 6 pages of notes. I'm going to go back and listen to it. I'll probably get another 3, 4 pages out of it. I'm constantly learning. I like your one thing, and this is what all the great strength coaches say. It makes a huge impact. You don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. And you said it earlier, because that's the way you learn. If you think you're the smartest guy, then there's nothing else to do in life. That's my honest opinion. You might as well just, go live on an island somewhere because you don't need anything else. But if you go in there with the mindset, hey, listen, I'm not the smartest. I'm going to take at least one thing, 2, 3, 4, 5 things out of it. You're going to continue to improve. And I thank you so much, man. I'm looking forward. I definitely will get out there. I promise you. I'll be in touch.
I appreciate it. I mean, you gave me an opportunity to bring a few things to the table, but, I got to give you a lot of credit and respect for setting the table and building this platform that you're doing. And, that takes a lot of work of organizing an event like this and gathering and reaching out to all these coaches and setting this up. So, the kudos are going right back to you, Coach. This is something awesome. I'm looking forward to the thousands of lives that are going to be able to be impacted through this as coaches, and then they can go ahead and multiply that 10 times over with the kids who will be able to work with. So, thanks again.
No, Coach, thank you very much, man. You have a great day.
You too. Take care.